Morning, folks. Crimson Blaze here, and I am back on trail. And I'm in Rocky Mountain National Park doing one of my favorite hikes, and that's the hike up to Chasm Lake. I also think it's one of the hardest hikes in the national park. It's about 8.3 miles round trip, but it has like 2,500 feet of elevation gain. So it's a tough one. It is up most of the way. And the only other hike that I think is tougher than this one is the hike up to Long's Peak. And this trail here is mostly covering that hike. But it's a beautiful lake. I'm hoping to catch it while it's still frozen. Right now it is the first weekend in May because I really love to go walk out on the ice. But I saw a good window weather for up there because generally it's really, really breezy. And it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. All right, let's get to it. We're going to continue on straight, head towards Chasm Peak. But the Long Peaks trailhead is a great trailhead for several hikes. So if you're going off to the right, that's the beginning of a really cool loop they call the Long's Peak Valley Loop. And I tried doing that one year with Nate. And on the first night when we got to camp, Nate sliced his hand wide open because he was picking up a rock that he wanted to sit on at camp, and he didn't realize one of the sides had like a serrated edge, and when it fell out of his hands, it split one of the sides of his fingers wide open, and that freaked me out a little bit. But I got my bandana on it. We cleaned it up, wrapped it up as tight as we could, and headed down to Estes Park to the ER room to get it all stitched up. And I think it was like 20 stitches or something, but whew, yeah, that scared me a little bit. So I was never able to complete that loop, but it looks like a beautiful loop. I've definitely done a lot of the hikes that are part of that loop. And it would be a great backpacking loop to do. Already a mile in, and I'm ready to shed this outer layer. So when I was at the truck, it was probably 25 degrees and pretty cold. So I brought my Melly along with me. But going straight up, for that first mile, I've gained, 700-800 feet in that first mile. I start feeling that first, bit of sweat. Once I start feeling that, I want to take off a layer. Because that's the important thing about out here hiking Rocky Mountain National Park, and even during the summertime, is you want to wear layers, right? Because you never know how cold it's going to be up there at the lake, or how warm it might be. So you always want to be able to dress in layers and take off and put on as you can. Because I imagine that once I get above tree line and it flattens out a little bit, like that last mile before you get to the lake, that I might be pulling this out again. Lightning hazard. I remember seeing that sign the first time I hiked up here, and I was like, whoa. Kind of gave me a little bit of a reality check as I'm about to get above tree line. Because that's one thing you're going to want to do before you attempt this hike is check the weather, right? Because I've been looking for a good weather weekend to do this hike. And it is wintertime, so the conditions are a bit harsher, but I just was looking for no wind or a calm day like today. And it was 30, 40 mile an hour winds, like consistently every Saturday, and light snow showers. And so you really want to check the weather before you come up here, because it can get nasty. Because I've been up here one time and I didn't check the weather, and man, the winds were just gusting. Because I'm about to get above tree line now, and you don't have that protection from the trees anymore. Once you get out there, you're totally exposed. And that wind, oh my goodness, it was ripping right through me. So if you can imagine 30-degree temps, 40-mile-an-hour winds, that's cold. That is cold. So be sure to check not only the temperature, but also the winds before you attempt this hike. There's our first look at Long's Peak. Yeah, we're about a couple miles away from Chasm Lake. As you can see, I'm sporting the sunglasses now. So one thing I definitely recommend on winter hikes is sunglasses and sunscreen. Because I've learned the hard way, especially when you're hiking 14ers, that the reflection from the sun off the snow is so bright that it can be blinding a little bit. So I'll always wear sunglasses when I do winter hikes like this. And also, I put on sunscreen. Even though it's 30 degrees and you would think that you're not going to burn. Well, me coming from the East Coast didn't know any better. So I climbed, I think it was Mount Bierstadt. And, you know, my face, especially my lips, man, they got blistered. And that was the only lesson I needed to know to put on sunscreen. What a beautiful day today. There's like no wind up here, which has never happened to me. Look at that view of Long's Peak. Wow. That is just stunning. You see that ridge right there? The trail takes you up and over that ridge. And even then, you still won't be able to see Chasm Lake, as it'll be flat there for about a mile. But you still have a little bit of climb just before you get to Chasm Lake. But what a glorious day. This is probably some of the best weather I've had, winter or summer, hiking up to Chasm Lake. This is stunning. Morning. Good place to take a break. Wow. You can't see Chasm Lake from the trail. Alright, but you can see how the trail goes down around there. And there's a little rock scramble up that, and the lake is on the other side. So we are close. Less than a mile. As you saw, I put on my spikes because now it's actually a pretty flat trail until you get to Chasm Lake. And then there's a steep little climb, about 50 feet or so. But I know that on this section, there's a couple of, I'm not going to call them narrow ledges. That's not fair. But I know in hiking them in the summer, you know, you need to be cautious. So I'm assuming they're covered in snow or ice, so I put on my micro spikes. Now I just need to figure out how to get up there. Luckily in the wintertime, you can follow the tracks in the snow, and that makes it much easier. And I see over there, there's some footprints in the snow, and there's actually a young lady who just passed, so I'm just gonna follow her up. But yeah, in the summertime, I've seen it's kind of like choose your own path, where people have gone up in multiple different areas. But this is the reason I brought my micro spikes, because I thought this was going to be super icy. The trail up here, that was no problem. I didn't have to use spikes. But here, I think I'm gonna have to, so. We have made it to Chasm Lake. That's pretty cool. Whew. Alright. Time to take a little snack break and enjoy this view. One of the reasons that I came up here in the wintertime is that one of the times that I came up here, people were ice skating on the lake, and I thought that was super cool. So I thought maybe if the lake was still frozen, that we might see some ice skaters. But as you can see, it's covered in snow, so there won't be any ice skating today. But I did see a couple guys with skis, and so what they're going to do is right around that corner there's a chute that they're going to ski up and down. They said if it's good, they'll do it multiple times, but they're just hiking up, skis on their back, and they're going to ski down that. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool being the first one to break ground. What a beautiful day out here on Chasm Lake, and I have it all to myself. That is so nice. But man, it has been a gorgeous day. I don't ever remember being up at Chasm Lake and there not being any wind at all, and this is just stunning. And plus, I've even seen a nice little snowfall. Actually, I heard it first, as I heard it almost sounded like a rock fall, and then I look up at Long's Peak. And then there's this long waterfall of snow falling off the rock. So that is pretty cool. I think it's time for me to head back. You know, after playing around with the Echo here, I was really waiting on to see those guys if they would ski down. And they're still milling around up there. So maybe they're still trying to find a good path for skiing. But that's what I was waiting for. But it's such a beautiful day. There's no wind. It's probably 40 degrees. I mean, it is perfect. It is absolutely perfect up here. But I've spent enough time, and now I need to start heading back down. Well, I'm below tree line now, and I'm probably less than 2 miles to get back to the trailhead. But I wanted to talk about those views coming back from Chasm Lake. That's probably my favorite section of the trail. When you're coming down that rock cropping from where Chasm Lake is at, and probably the next mile where you're hiking to the next ridge before you drop down, that is my favorite. I think those are the best views. I mean, you get to see Twin Sisters, the Front Range. There's a nice little lake even below it. And if you're here in the summertime, there's a pretty cool waterfall that you can also check out. And I like hiking along that section where you are basically on the side of a mountain. Now, some people find that a bit sketch, but I didn't have any issues with that, and I just love it. It's just a great section of trail. So this is a hike that I definitely recommend. It is hard. It is one of the more difficult hikes in Rocky Mountain National Park, but it has some of the best views. And the payoff there at the end, that's hard to beat. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Until my next adventure, keep on blazing.